Hi guys, Allison here, the Bored Housewife. Thank you so much for joining me for another week's episode of The Bored Housewife. So, recently I just went home for about 3 weeks, and home in general is America. I met my mom in Vegas, and then I met some really good friends in San Diego, and then I went to my hometown where I'm from in Iowa. And so all in all, I got to, within all the places, that was about 3 weeks. And it was such a great time. I was really sad to leave. I wish I could have been back a little bit longer. It was just a really fun time. But I also was happy to come back here too. Once I got back and started to get into my routine a little bit, I was excited to be back here as well. So I think whenever you move far away from where you grew up and where your family still lives, it's always so bittersweet because you really enjoy being back, with your familiar and just being back with your family and all of that nice closeness and comfortable feeling. But you left for a reason, and not because of anything like your family wise, but you left because that area wasn't going to suit what you wanted to do, or maybe a job made you leave, whatever. We all have reasons for leaving, right? So I've been gone for a really long time, and I think it feels even more now that I live in another country. It's just a lot harder to visit, and so I didn't know how much I needed to be home until I was home. So anyway, so the episode is not about me going home necessarily. I mean, I am using my experience this week of being home to talk about this point that I wanted to make, which is how important it is to be in the moment. And I've talked about this kind of in other ways about time and how time moves fast and slow and all of that, but just really trying to be present in the actual scenario that you're in, I think is really hard. And so, I started realizing when I first got to Vegas, I was, so jet lagged for one. So that was just really hard kind of getting over that. I think I was jet lagged the entire time I was home. But also, I just was anxious about and feeling overwhelmed about, my husband is deployed now. And so being kind of worried about that and not having the best, not being able to communicate with him because of their scenario. And then also just I was worried about our house here in Japan. Did I get everything set up right? Because we live in such a tropical climate, mold and stuff like that can be such a huge issue. So I was just worried about our dehumidifier and all the stuff, right, that comes to, having a house or an apartment or whatever and being responsible for certain things, right? So being gone for that long, it's, scary. What if something happens and I'm not there and it's, creates a bigger mess because of it. I was really worried about getting a positive COVID test. COVID seems to be running rampant in America, whatever the current strain is. And I honestly didn't really care or not if I would have gotten it. It's just that Japan requires you to have a negative COVID test to get back into the country. So I was just, concerned. What if I don't get the negative COVID test and then I don't make my flight? Having to figure out all those logistics was making me anxious. And so there was my next, I was just constantly thinking about the next thing, also my next flight to San Diego, my next flight to Iowa, my flight back to Seattle, the next destination, what are we doing there, the next event, all of these things just kept kind of running through my head. And I realized a few days in, I was if I continue to do this, I'm going to miss out on this entire trip. 3 weeks is a long time. It sounds a long time, but especially when you're in so many different places and traveling, that takes up a lot of the time, right? Even just flying, to and fro, it's it takes up almost a whole day sometimes, depending on what your flights are like. So I realized I was feeling so anxious and overwhelmed, and I was I need to slow down. I need to stop. I need to live in these moments because the future will come. And me worrying about my negative COVID test in 3 weeks is not going to do anything. It's just going to make me feel overwhelmed and not have a great time and be preoccupied instead of like focusing on the people that I'm there to see and having the good times that I'm trying to have. So today's episode is a reminder to just live in the moment. And like I said, I am going to use my experience of going home to kind of walk through some of those things and why living in the moment is so important. There's so many things that I got out of this trip home that had I not been living in the moment, I would have missed out on. So I'm really excited to share all of that with you guys today. Please share this with a friend if you're enjoying these episodes, if you feel like you're getting some enlightenment out of it or inspiration, motivation, just maybe not feeling so alone in the world. I would really love to build our community, so I would love for you to share with a friend. Please check out the link in my social media, my website. I have been a little lazy lately. I've been trying to figure out, I've been gone and all sort of stuff, So life happens sometimes and we're not always on top of everything that we would love to do. But I'm hoping within the next month or so I can get a little bit more on top of my social media and bring you guys some more fun and inspiring things to look at daily. So yeah, today I am drinking a white wine, a Sauvignon Blanc. So grab whatever beverage of choice that whatever time of day this calls for you. And cheers, guys. Let's have some fun. So one thing that I noticed as soon as I got off the plane, I was so excited when we landed in Seattle and it was like, welcome to the United States. I was like, oh my God, I'm back home. At this point, it's like, when I lived in New York, when I lived in LA, when I was in Alabama, when I'd see the welcome to Iowa sign, that's when I was like, oh, I'm home. But this time, no, I was in Seattle somewhere I've never lived before, spent very little time in, and I'm like, yes, I'm home. And so I was so excited, but then my excitement quickly went away. I don't want to sound like that person, but I'm going to sound like that person. Living in another country gives you a lot of different perspectives, whether those are good or bad or however you want to take it. And I've shared in the, last episode how polite Japan is and how, considerate, and they just have some different social norms, than us Americans. And it was kind of funny because, even towards the end of the trip, I'm getting like so back into my old habits and how America is and everything. So by the end, it was like all these things didn't stick out to me, but getting off the plane straight from Japan, all of these things like instantly stood out to me. And it was really weird, like how self-important everyone thinks they are. And I am saying this because I used to be one of those people. I watched this TikTok video of this girl right before I left, which is kind of interesting. And she was like, just me sitting in the airport, drinking a glass of wine, acting like an important business lady, when in reality, I'm like going to visit my parents. And I'm like, that's how everybody acts. Like, not everybody, but there's a lot of people that act like that. Like, oh, I'm so important. Where I'm going is so important. And the reality is like, okay, a lot of people probably are traveling on business or other things, but it's like, come on, we're not all doing, important stuff. Like, we're visiting friends or family or going on vacation, like, not everyone is traveling because of business purposes, So there was this weird, like, just people being on the cell phone and like talking so rudely on the phone. And then just their mannerisms and just, I don't know, like, it's not like people are super outgoing and friendly necessarily. In Japan, people definitely kind of like keep to themselves, but it just was like a different energy, I guess. And I was really kind of just taken aback from it. And like I said, I used to be one of those girls. Like I used to walk everywhere and act like I was so important and that I had somewhere so important to go, knowing very well that I did not. So, I'm not quite sure what that is. I definitely, it's something that I don't like that I used to be like that. And it's something that like I look at on now, just when I look on social media and things like that, where like people act like they're so important. Like, no, you're just a regular person. Like, we're all just trying to get around. I don't care what the hell you're doing. Like, you could be, brokering the biggest, most expensive deal in the world. Like, you should still be respectful to people in the airport, right? So, I don't know. That was kind of a very first introduction back to America. And I was also pissed because where are all the vending machines? I have gotten used to vending machines absolutely everywhere. And so I was really disappointed. I'm like, had to stand in line for customs for an hour and a half, and there wasn't a single damn vending machine anywhere. I was really thirsty, so I was a little upset about that too. But I'm just kidding. But it is kind of funny. Like, you start getting used to these little things, and now all of a sudden, oh, okay, we're in a different country and we have different rules here. So buckle up, right? So my point of bringing all of that up is that I think when we're so like introverted in that way, and we think that whatever like our shit is that's going on is so important and that we're so cool, it doesn't really allow us time to kind of like embrace the moment and kind of see what's going on. We kind of get into our own little bubble, and I'm guessing I'm going, okay, you know what? I'm going completely off of how I was and how I remember, and even still some things that I feel. So if I'm speaking out of turn for you, then just disregard. But I just remember like being so concerned with like trying to look cool and important that I didn't really notice anything else going on around me. I wasn't very observant to what other people were doing, and it just like it's just such a weird way to be, I think, because you kind of miss out on what's going on. So because I wasn't like that this time, I was very observant and taking everything in and noticing all these different things. And I definitely think like living in another country, especially a country like Japan, it has really helped me kind of slow down and just, I guess, be a little observant in that way, because I'm, trying, and maybe it's just from living in another country. You're always being observant because you're trying to, kind of fit into the social norms and not offend anybody. So maybe that's part of it too. I'm not exactly sure where it comes from, but I definitely was being more observant and like taking in my surroundings. And I was traveling by myself too, so it's better to be like that, I think, when you're a female traveler, so that you're aware of what's going on around you. But I ended up having some really neat conversations with people, and I told my mom, I was like, I don't know, like if it's just from living in Japan, or if like I'm just excited to speak to English speaking people. But I'm like, I was so chatty in the airport. I had to be in the airport, so I flew 18 hours because I was on a military flight. It was 18 hours of travel to Seattle, and then I had a 12-hour layover in Seattle. Yeah, it was really fun. So I just like meandered my way through Seattle. Yeah, it was, I found the USO. The USO I was able to take a nap in, so it was great. But I found some lounges that I could go and get some free drinks in, so that was fun. So, but like while I was in there, I was just like chatting it up with everybody and like figuring out where everyone's from. And also, everyone looked familiar to me. Again, I don't know if that's just because I'm used to seeing a bunch of, Japanese, Asian people. And so I was like, I swore now I'm like seeing a bunch of like, white people again. So I'm like, oh, don't I know you? Like, I kept asking people, like, oh, we've met before, right? Like, I asked this guy, I was like, you lived in New York City, right? Like, I swore to God he lived in New York City. And he was just like, no, I've never lived there. I was like, okay, if you say so. So that was kind of weird. Like the first week I was back in the States, I was seeing people I knew all over the place. So that was interesting. Not again, psychologically, what's that about? But yeah, so um I just really enjoyed like having those experiences and being so open, and I felt like so much more like myself again. I feel like, how I was saying before, I was kind of that like self-important kind of bitch, and I have definitely shed so much of that, and I'm so happy I have, because it just really allows you to be in a more like genuine, authentic experience and embracing what's going on around you, versus being like closed off and, kind of bitchy, I guess. I don't know. So another thing that I did that I don't think I've done in the past is I really lowered my expectations and accepted the time that was given to me with my family and friends. So in the past, you get excited to go home and you have all these ideas of everything that's going to happen. And, it's really hard if you're just home for a week, or even if you're home for 2 weeks, it's so hard to get everybody's schedules worked around you being home. It's so hard to fit things in that you want to do time wise, because, you lived there. So there's all this stuff that you remember and you like. So this time I just was like, you know what? Every time I go home, I end up feeling kind of bad when I leave. Like, oh, I didn't get to see this person as much as I would have liked, or we didn't get to go do that. And, I leave like a little disappointed. And this time I left so happy. It was probably one of the best trips I've ever had home. And I think it was really because my attitude coming into it was, I will accept whatever time anybody has to give to me. And, there are a few things that we had on our list, but other than that, like, these are some other things that I would love to do. But if they don't get done, they don't get done, So there were a few restaurants that I wanted to go to. You can make all the fun you want. I love Olive Garden. I used to try to pretend when I lived in New York and I was that self-important bitch. I tried to pretend like Olive Garden and chain restaurants are stupid. No, I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, guys? I can't help it. I love Olive Garden. Yes, I know it's probably not real Italian. It's not real Italian food, okay? I mean, it is. It is and it isn't, right? It's a chain restaurant. I don't care. It doesn't make it any less delicious, okay? So just F you if you don't like it, okay? Whatever. No. F you if you judge me for liking it, okay? You don't have to like it, but I love it. So anyways, so I got to go to Olive Garden. That was on my list. And then there's this other restaurant in town called Latin King, and it's like, it's not a chain, okay? It's real Italian restaurant. I always love to try to go there when I'm home as well, and this time it did not work out. So, that was okay. Like, I will go another time, and if I don't, I don't. Like, I've been there so many times before. Sorry, my nose is itchy. I've been there so many times before. If it doesn't work out this time, like, it was fine. And then we had the Iowa State Fair, and so that took up a huge chunk of our time, and it was great though. Like, my family, I got to see them so much. It was just amazing. And I think really lowering my expectations allowed me, again, to be in the moment a little bit more, because I wasn't being preoccupied with, why isn't this happening? Why aren't we doing this? Where is this person? Why haven't they gotten off work yet? Why are they coming to this thing? Why aren't they going to that? Like, when you set up ideas and things in your head, I think it makes it, again, really hard for you to just kind of be in the moment and embrace what's going on, because you're frustrated with what's not happening. You're frustrated with, why didn't I get to go here and only here? You get caught up in all of the little bullshit that really shouldn't matter. It should just matter that you make the best of the time that you have. So instead of like when those people are able to come, when you are able to go to the restaurant, instead of just like fully embracing it, you're worried or upset about what didn't happen, right? So I think that for me, that was really important. Again, that I went into this whole scenario with that mindset instead of like how I usually go into it. And I'll tell you, we had such a great time. I was so sad leaving. I was like, I should have at least booked another week. Usually, I'm kind of ready to go back to my life. And this time I wasn't. I was like, I want to stay and hang out more. So, and all of that is my attitude. In the past, I just didn't come forward with that attitude. So I might have been like a little disappointed here and there and been like, well, okay, whatever, it's time for me to go. So, and again, that self-importance type of attitude. And this time it was just, I approached it completely differently. And I ended up having such an amazing time. So again, to my last point here, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Embracing the moment and not worrying about what to come, not only allowed me to have such a great time, but I felt so much gratitude for being there. And like I said, it was actually really hard to leave, even though I was anxious to get back and like make sure the house was good and all of that. I kind of forgot about a lot of those things that in the beginning of the trip I was like worried about until like towards the end. And then I was like, oh shit, I have to get a COVID test. Oh shit, my house might, be flooded from the dehumidifier. I know that sounds dumb, but like my dehumidifier has a pump on it. And so I was so worried that the pump was not going to work right and it was just going to like overflow. And I did put it in the bathroom. So even though if it did overflow, it would have been fine. But anyways, that, little stuff like that. Like we had some typhoon weather, but not really a typhoon, just some like tropical storms come through. So there were just like a bunch of little dumb stuff that I was worried about. So, but like I forgot all about that. And instead embracing the moment and like really getting to enjoy my family and friends, I just felt so much gratitude on that trip. Being in Vegas with my mom, we got to go see Katy Perry. We were dancing on Fremont Street. We met some interesting people. We had some interesting experiences. Going and seeing my friends in San Diego. I have not seen their kids for a little while. It's been a year. And so seeing them get a little bit bigger, and they both have new babies, so getting to meet their babies. And then their husbands are like really good best friends with my husband. So, getting to spend time with those guys. And even though my husband isn't here, it was just so nice to talk with them and have like, that they're like family now as well. So, just having that felt so great, especially because my husband is gone right now. And then seeing my real family and getting to spend, a week and a half with them, and getting to do all these fun things that I've done since I was a kid. Like, and then at the end of this all, knowing that I get to go back and live in Japan. Like, there's just so much like love and gratitude that fills my heart, like getting to realize all of this. And I think had I not had a little talk with myself in the beginning of the trip, the trip would have gone a lot differently to begin with. But like, also, I don't think I would have been able to see it this way. I'm still thinking about like the weekend it was my one friend's 30th birthday, and she had it at like this pool at this amazing hotel. And like today I was just thinking about like, oh my God, I can't believe just a few weeks ago, like we were at the pool with, with all of us and having so much fun. And so I don't know, I had so many amazing experiences. And so even though this episode definitely turned out into be more of like, let me talk about my trip, my point in telling you all of this is that, sometimes this stuff gets stressful, right? When we go on trips, when we go visit family, when we go and do things, it's stressful traveling. It's stressful being in a different environment, not having your own bed, all of that stuff. Again, worrying about what's going on at home. And instead, like, when we kind of allow ourselves to let that stuff go because it's not in our control, right? Like, Whatever happens at the airport is not in my control. Whatever happens at home when I'm not here is not in my control. It's something that I'll have to eventually deal with. It's still my responsibility, but it's not something that I can control right now. So why am I worrying about it, right? Feeling anxious and feeling overwhelmed in those scenarios really takes away from moments that we should really be embracing. And, whether it's going on a trip or, having your wedding or a graduation or a birthday party, like especially the stuff in our lives that are supposed to be exciting and fun, that are supposed to be worth celebrating and all of that. It's so easy to let the moment slip by because you're worried about all this external stuff. So today is your reminder to just live more in the moment, accept what's coming to you, lower your expectations. I have said this for the longest time, like I hope for the best and prepare for the worst. And when I say prepare for the worst, like you do whatever you can to like try to, be a little proactive in figuring out like if this would go down, like, whatever. But when it comes to the time, mentally too, you have to be expecting the worst, I think. And not that you're projecting it, not that you're going into it being like, this is all going to fall apart. No, you hope for the best. You hope that this is going to be the best day ever. This is going to be the best trip ever. This is going to be the best whatever, But also realize that not every scenario is perfect, right? And so there are going to be moments that are tough, that are going to be hard. I was, really hoping that when I got to Seattle, so I got into Seattle at 9 a.m. and my flight out of Seattle wasn't until 9 p.m. and then it got delayed an hour. And I was really hoping, I was like looking on the website. And the reason why I booked it that way is because sometimes this military flight gets in really late. So I didn't want to book a flight that would have got me in at a good time and then, end up missing it because this flight coming in. And that's 18 hours worth of travel, right? Like a lot could happen in that time frame. So I was like, okay, let me like really book, because a lot of people will just book it entirely the next day. So I was like, okay, let me just like, do this. And I was thinking I would like sleep on the plane. I couldn't sleep on the plane. Like I had all these expectations, or not expectations, but ideas of things that like would happen, and those things did not happen. Okay. And so then when I got to the airport and I finally got through customs, was so long. It was like an hour and a half long for me to get through customs. I went to the ticketing counter and I thought for sure I looked up, they had like all these flights throughout the day to Vegas. So I was like, oh, surely I can get on one of these. Nope. Did not have a single open flight for me. So I had to wait all day. And, that was not fun. That was like, again, I was hoping for the best, but I knew realistically, like, they don't have to get me on an earlier flight. So, I think like when you walk into those scenarios and you like, have a good attitude, but if it doesn't happen, you still have a good attitude, or if something goes wrong, you still have a good attitude. It just really helps you, again, be in the moment, embracing what's going on around you, and then you get to really fully experience it. Again, when you cloud yourself with these ideas of what else is going on, what expectations weren't met, who didn't come through, what's next scenarios, you really miss out. So take it from me. I have been there. I have done that so much in my life. And it's frustrating. You end up, looking back and being like, yeah, we had some good moments. But, it's like, no, this trip, I honestly, like, I don't really have much negative things to say because I had so much fun. I've just never had a trip like that. And so, yes, if I can inspire you to do anything today, just be in the moment. Just embrace the moments, and don't let the little stuff, because, you miss out on so much. And like I said, had I not been in the moment more, I wouldn't have realized, like, how fortunate I am and how, this feeling of gratitude that is amazing, and being able to just like see how many amazing and wonderful people are around me, I would have missed out on that. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. please share with a friend. Again, check out my link and check out my social media. You can sign up for the monthly newsletter. I'll try to get it out on time this month. And yeah, subscribe, comment. I love to hear from you guys. Whatever you're thinking, if you have any ideas of some things that you would like me to talk about, and just what's going on with you. I hope everything is going well as we come to the end of summer, and if you have little ones, that you're getting them off to school and all of that great stuff. So again, embrace those moments, embrace all of it, because it does go by fast, and you want to treasure those things and have good memories to look back on, and not feeling like disappointed or that you were let down. Just embrace it. Okay. Thank you guys for joining me for another week's episode of The Bored Housewife. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and cheers. I'll see you soon. Bye.